you as a founder, and as well as some of the teams that you're working with, like the customer experience team, all of you would be very, very serious about the customer experience that you're delivering. Right? So, because this is something that you know the importance of, and you know how much of an impact it has on the business. But let's say there are other patient touch points or customer touch points that you have by different teams, right? Your coach is talking to the customers, your doctors are talking to the customers, there are other people reaching out and asking questions with the customers. So, how do you bring about a culture in the organization across functions who
Yeah.
don't really care about customer experience much, but they have to, because that's the entire service that you're giving. Your customers should feel they are valued by every single point of your touch point of your organization. How do you bring this culture to the org, and how do you like coach people, or how do you lead people to drive customer experience? If you could talk about that a bit.
No, it's a great point, and it takes a bit of time. It takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of consistency also from the management side to keep harping on that in terms of importance. I'll take, like you mentioned about the coach, and I'll give you those examples out of Beto too. So so the coaches at some point in time were responsible for renewal of the programs, and then we said, okay, because now there are various other things that the patient needs, and we introduced the protein and some of the other things, ancillary products. The coaches are also responsible for selling these products. And by the way, if there is a short term program, they are also responsible for upgrading them on a long term program. So the coach who is accountable for health outcomes, who is responsible for driving patient engagement and retention, also had a major revenue responsibility. Uh, so while we did this, we also changed the way we track coaches. This was a while back, and we said the coaches' incentives and whatever else is. So we started looking at revenue and retention first, and then maybe if there was time in an hour-long meeting, we focused on engagement, right? And then the coaches' incentive programs, or however those variables, etc., had a bigger chunk of, if you do retention and if you do your renewals and you bring in this revenue, then that occupied 70-80% of your KRA, and then 20-30% was. So you incentivized and you ordered the priority to be an outcome, which I was talking to you earlier. Of course, as business people and as investors that Rohit and some of the other people are, you want that revenue outcome. But we can't pass and filter all of that to the teams, right? And so if the coaches start behaving like a salesperson, which they are, or they were, then what gets compromised? They are more interested in calling the next customer for a renewal rather than talking to them about their health, right? Sooner than later, while initially it will give you great results, and did give us great results, but over a period of time, it does two things. One, it starts to frustrate the coaches themselves, right? Because they didn't sign up for this. This is not their core competency. We have trained them in this, and they've become really good, and now they're passionate also, because we always link and say, देखो, अगर आप अच्छी केयर दे रहे हो तो फिर इसका मतलब renew तो आई जाना चाहिए, तो आपकी responsibility है. But it was always, it's something that is set as an agenda by us. It is set as an incentive program by us, as a motivation by us, and then over time the team does the right or the wrong thing accordingly. Now of late, like I was telling you, I mean, many things in Veto have undergone significant alteration, and the way we approach things over the last few years. But on the coach, we changed it, and we realized it fortunately soon enough, that things were breaking as we were scaling. And we reorganized the structure of the organization. We said, okay, the coach is responsible for engagement and driving this. You can take on a few more customers, but just focus on making sure that you're engaging well with them. You're bringing, solving problems around their health, not around their transaction. And then we created a separate small revenue vertical, but these people were interacting with the team leaders of the coaches, right? So The renewal was still the responsibility of the team lead, but we said that's a byproduct if your outcome is being brought in. We changed the incentive program to now say 70-80% is driven through your engagement and health outcomes, and then 20-30% renewals. And our also the third part, which is our view and management reviews that we do with the team leaders, with the head of department, etc., also changed in terms of how we split the bandwidth of that review. So if it is an hour long, we want to start out with the inputs. We want to start out with, okay, these are the coaches. This is what the customer satisfaction of the coaches was. This is their SLA. Did they meet those SLAs? This was their audit report in terms of the quality and science of what they're delivering. Who is less, who is more here, and then we don't miss out on revenue. We do come back to the revenue, but then the headache of that revenue is of course reduced, because if we are doing all these things better, uh, we haven't. But in fact, we've seen the revenues only go up, and a slightly happier environment with the team, because their roles and responsibilities are better defined. And again, to your point, different parts of the organizations, their incentives, their alignment, their work and roles will function slightly differently. This I took the example of the coaching team. The sales team might be different, logistics may be different, but eventually designing for the org, and then making sure you as a management team is consistent with that message, and don't just flip flop and say कि नहीं अच्छा अब हो गए 2 महीने और हम लोग कस्टमर एंगेजमेंट पे बात कर रहे थे, वापस सबको चेंज होकर रेवेन्यू पे बात करते हैं. वो नहीं हो सकता.
Awesome. Thank you so much for this, Gautam. I remember when I was at P&G, our plant manager used to keep instilling this concept in all of us young managers. We were managing teams of people who were working in the shop floor of the plant, that an organization delivers the outcomes that it is designed to deliver, right? That there are no accidents, fundamentally speaking, right? If you, for example, on the shop floor only talk about production as the first thing and the last thing in the meeting, and you make safety a footnote, then that's how people on the shop floor are going to behave. And over a period of time, somebody is going to get hurt. Whereas if you start the conversation and end the conversation with safety, right, production will still happen, right? But people will also be safe. So I see like massive parallels with what you just said here, right? About messaging, about consistency of messaging, and about designing organization and incentives in the right way, right? So that you ultimately get the outcome that you want.